Hola, my name is Juan Araya. I'm a cybersecurity specialist, and today I'm going to talk about steganography and malware from scratch. So a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Juan Araya. I'm a cloud security architect. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science, in this case from the University of Costa Rica. I have a master in cybersecurity. Down there you can find my LinkedIn profile in case you want to add me as a contact, and I'll be more than glad to interact with each and every one of you. From the recent certification, these are some of my most recent certifications, especially the CompTIA Certified Advanced Security Practitioner. I'm now getting specialized in cloud technology like AWS and Azure. So little by little, as you know, we are in an area where we cannot stop, studying. So we need to continue enhancing our knowledge. So that's why little by little, I'm trying to get as much certifications as possible and to continue studying because that's the only way to keep our knowledge up to date. All right, so enough about me. So let's go straight to the point about the steganography and malware from scratch. So this is agenda. So first I'm going to talk about what is malware. Then I'll share information about steganography, what it is. Of course, steganography, don't get me wrong, steganography is not bad at all. It has been used for legitimate purposes, for example, for copyright protection, but also can be used to hide information, can be used to steal data, can be used to send payloads and many other stuff. So that's why after I share information about what is steganography, I'll talk about a stegware, where in a stegware, we're gonna use steganography techniques to, again, hide data, steal information, send payloads, and many other malicious actions. And of course, at the end, I'm gonna talk about security measures, some recommendations that will protect your company, will protect your data against attacks using stegware. So let's talk, before I go to stegware and steganography, it is important to clarify what is malware. So malware stands for malicious software. It is designed to steal data, to affect the confidentiality of the data. In other words, to be able to access data that you're not authorized, to be able to damage, tamper a database, to alter data. So that's, in other words, to affect the integrity of the information. And finally, to affect the availability of the service. For example, to send a lot of requests that will overwhelm a server or will cause a denial of service attack. So which are the most common type of malware that are down there at the jungle of the internet? So let's talk about one of the most simple. In this case, would be a Trojan. A Trojan is a software that it looks like a legitimate software, looks like a legitimate application. For example, you download a version from Microsoft that you didn't pay, right? And of course it will work, but you know that Microsoft products, in this case, Microsoft Office, is not for free. So people that wants to do illegal stuff like using, a software without the proper license, sometimes they fall in this situation and they start using an application that looks like legitimate. They start using a fake version of a tampered version of Windows or even a free game. So they look legitimate, and these type of Trojan applications are not only available for desktop computers or server computers. Of course, in the Apple Store, in the Play Store, in Android devices, there are many applications that looks legitimate but are not. So what could go wrong? So, for example, when you open up one of these applications, and at the same time that you're able to use it, as the way it is supposed to do, it could it could easily start contacting, the attacker. It could easily start trying to steal information. It could try to download a keylogger, which is another type of malware that I'll talk in a few minutes, or why not, maybe download a worm that will try to distribute a ransomware. Okay. So the other type of malware that is very common nowadays would be a bot. So what is a bot? A bot would be a computer that has been infected or compromised. We normally call this type of computer that once it has been compromised, we call it a zombie computer. Why? Because it will start receiving instructions remotely from the attacker. How is it going to start receiving those type of instructions? Normally, the attacker is going to configure something that is known as a command and control. So the command and control will start, pinging and contacting the different compromised computers to verify if they're still compromised. And the attacker is going to send an instruction to the command and control. For example, try to connect to this specific website. So maybe the website is designed to manage, I don't know, like as an example, like 1,000 requests per hour. And suddenly it received like 100 million of requests. So of course, the server is not ready to manage that type of workload, and it will cause a denial of service. So that is one of the many usages that you can implement using a bot. In this case, the group of bots is known as a botnet. So once you are able to control the botnet, you can use it for causing denial of service. You can use it to try over and over, maybe some credential that has been sent, that has been stealed previously. So you can try to perform an attack, account takeover attack, and many others. The other type of malware that nowadays is very, very dangerous will be a worm. Why? Because a worm is designed to automatically copy itself once it detects that a specific vulnerability is present. For example, there's a missing patch on some servers. Okay, so once it detects that there's a missing patch on those servers, it will try to copy it automatically. And once it copies automatically, it will infect that computer and it will download, for example, a ransomware. And that's the next one. So the ransomware will be a type of malware designed to encrypt the data and steal the data. And so the victim in this case is not going to be longer able to read, to have access to their information, their files. Many companies are not ready to detect, and they are not ready to survive after a ransomware attack. They don't have like an incident management plan. they they their backups are not performed properly. They don't test their backups and so on. So that's why attackers in that case, once they are able to encrypt the data, they send some ransom notes asking, okay, if you pay me this amount of money, then maybe I'll return your files, but there's no guarantee. Nobody's going to guarantee that you're going to receive the data without any without any malware inside. you're they don't guarantee that they didn't already copy that information, right? And they already distributed on the deep web, with other criminals. So my suggestion at this point is, remember, do not pay whatever is asked on a ransomware attack. Okay, so get ready, prepare your incident management plan, have a good backups, and many other stuff that I'll share at the end of this presentation. But ransomware is a big thing, so and it could affect anybody at any moment. The other type of malware is known as adware. The adware is designed to earn money in an illegal way using a legal process. In other words, there are some companies that are willing to pay if you're able to to obtain new users, new customers, to access their website. So they have like a pay-per-click, program. So some attackers will infect computers, and those computers will simulate those clicks, and the attacker will earn money. The company will start paying, thinking that they are getting new and new customers, but at the end, they are not really new customers. They are simulated customers. The next one would be, in this case, a spyware. The spyware would be a type of malware, as the way it says, that is designed to spy, to know whatever, to record whatever you type. In this case, all your keystrokes are going to be registered. The attacker could have access to your video camera, so that could affect, privacy. That could affect, for example, with a keylogger, they will be able to obtain your username and password of your bank and then perform wire transfer and so on. There are other type of malware. In this case, these two are very similar, but this one is a very interesting one. So this is a virus, as you know, which is a malicious software that is designed to copy automatically. For example, once you infect a USB key and you connect the USB key to a computer, it will automatically, using the auto run option, it will copy automatically to the target computer, right? And it will execute whatever it is assigned to, damage information, download more malware, whatever. Now, there's another type of virus, in this case, the armor virus, that is a polyformic virus that also has encryption and obfuscation. So the idea is to make really hard or harder, the process of reverse engineering. So that way, for the people that are there to protect, it will be a lot harder to understand what the malware does, what programming language it was used, what libraries it is using. There's no semantic, there's no easy to read, names that help us recognize, what the attacker was thinking when he designed the malware. Now, malware doesn't have to be something like very complicated. People think that malware is designed by genius, by very smart people. Well, not really. Malware could be as easy as a malicious code that is written in Visual Basic for Application, in VBA. It can also be part of a very simple JavaScript. It could also be, designed using Python. Many programming language, many options. So you don't have to be like a genius to be able to create your own malware. Of course, there are some advanced malware, and those are the zero-day attacks, that are continually trying to develop more malware that are not already documented. And there's no, at that particular point of time, there was no defense mechanism. So this is just an example of a very simple malware that you can even try to do yourself, from the education perspective. So for example, this is Excel with macro enable Excel. So on this Excel, this case would be like an invoice. Maybe someone could receive an email stating this is an invoice template designed for small and medium business. This is for free, and it has the logo of the government and so on. To facilitate the process of tax income generation and registration. All right. So at the point that someone open up this malware, as you can see in this Excel file, it will contain some malicious code. So for example, down here you can see, as soon as the person open up this Excel file, it's gonna call the redirect function. The redirect function in this case is gonna perform these actions. It's gonna just open up one website. This is a very simple example, of course. It could do many other things. It could download a malware. It could start, steal information and upload the data in FTP into an FTP server and many other things. In this other example, I'm saying, for example, once the person resize the windows of the Excel file, make it bigger or smaller, then it's going to call this other function, the fingerprint OS PowerShell. So this fingerprint OS PowerShell, it's going to run at a terminal, and it's going to execute PowerShell, and it's going to obtain information about the version of the operating system. All right. And finally, on this other example, I'm going to run a curl command using the terminal once again. As soon as the person types a value on a specific cell, once the value of that cell change, it's going to call the terminal function, and then it's going to run a shell command to connect via curl to a specific website. This is another example of a very simple malware. Once again, this case would be with JavaScript. Nowadays, many, for example, on Facebook, you see people that are offering things, and they say, okay, the first 10 people that register on this website will obtain, I don't know, a scholarship, or they will obtain a free iPhone or whatever, right? They use social engineering techniques like causing, a scarcity, or trying to make people think that it's normal, that it's a big opportunity, and so on. So on this particular example down here, I create just a Google form. As you can see, it is supposed to be for someone who wants a scholarship with a big discount of 20% on the total cost. It requires some basic data, but again, in the backend, it's gonna have a script. In this case, using Google Forms, there's a script editor, and in a script editor, you can write, code that could be designed, for good or for bad. In this case, would be just to open up a specific website without, the human interaction. As soon as they start working on this form, in parallel, this tab will be open, and it's going to close, automatically. Now, how malware can be distributed? So there are many techniques, in this case, using social engineering techniques to try to motivate people to open up this type of malicious files, or to try to access malicious hyperlinks. For example, one of them is smishing. In this case, they are sending text message through even social media, like, I don't know, like WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever. So they use social engineering techniques to try to motivate people to, once again, download or click on those hyperlinks. Another technique is known as phishing. In this case, they're going to send tons and tons of emails, to multiple people. Once again, they could use the logo of a specific company. Even the letters will look like very similar to the one that is official that are in the official website. and it could try to have a pretext to motivate people to do something. Okay. And another one, this is a very funny one. You know, I don't know if you like, you know, Mr. Robot, but in the Mr. Robot series, they talk about a rubber ducky. So basically, it's a USB key. You know, this USB key, they are going to inject a virus, and this virus is gonna, and the auto run function is gonna copy automatically once they connect this type of devices. So for example, in pen test, penetration testing efforts, it's very common that engineers, you know, they design this type of attacks, you know, for good to verify if some employees will fall on that trick, and they will connect this type of devices directly to the computer of the company. Now, as you can see on these specific examples, we need to we need to prepare a file, right? That file needs to be downloaded. That file needs to be executed. Now, there are other ways to distribute malware. In this case, we're talking about fileless malware using living off the land techniques. In this case, using binaries that already exist on the operating system, using scripts that already exist on the operating system, and they are using good tools. You know, in this case, WMI, which is the Windows Management Instrumentation System. You know, they're using PowerShell, which is very good. You know, with PowerShell, you can do automation, you can improve the maintenance of your equipment. You can connect, you know, with the Active Directory for using reconciliation, with Exchange, whatever, right? It's a very, very powerful, and of course with the cloud. Now, also with the terminal, you know, with the terminal, you can configure a job, you know, with the task scheduler to, for example, to coordinate backups. So there are three basic examples of how you can use these tools for good. However, you can use them for performing a fileless malware attack. So what is the idea down here? The idea is to try to execute malicious software without being installed, trying to execute malicious commands that are going to be executed directly on memory. They are not going to affect the OS. They are not going to affect the hard drive, right? Everything is going to be on memory directly. This is a very interesting example. This was used using ELK framework. So with ELK framework, it works very, very interesting. So the attacker is going to, in this case, is going to prepare a payload, and it's going to upload the payload in a popular, in this case, a cloud-based software as a service solution. Okay. So this cloud-based software as a service solution is designed for people, you know, to interact, to share files at the same time, you know, to concurrently work on the same file and work together. Okay. Now the idea down here is the following. So the attacker, once he uploads the payload, he's gonna try to use social engineering to motivate someone to do something. In this case, to motivate someone to run some specific commands on their computer. You know, maybe they simulate that these commands are going to block a specific vulnerability, try to implement them as soon as possible, right? Someone is gonna go down there, someone is gonna copy and paste them on a terminal, just as an example. So what is gonna happen at that point? The payload, in this case, is designed to, the commands are designed to, in this case, connect to the software as a service solution. Is not going to download, it's going to read the data, the malicious commands that are uploaded in the cloud, and then it's going to execute those malicious commands directly on memory without installing. Okay, so when, for example, those commands could be designed to enable the attacker to have shell access using a reverse shell. So in this case, the attacker, when he create, or he or she, you know, develop, upload the payload, at that very moment, this person can also prepare his computer or his equipment to have a port open, ready to listen on that port for incoming connections, in this case, for a reverse shell connection. So the victim is going to connect to the computer of the attacker on a specific port, and that at that point, the attacker is going to have shell access. So once the attacker has shell access, it will be just a matter of time to start losing your files, to start losing control of your computer, and many other bad things could happen. Now let's talk a little bit about steganography. So steganography for me is a very interesting technique. This phrase is a very famous phrase from Margaret Duvalou. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. Unfortunately, my French is not very good. However, this phrase is very good. It says, the more hidden the venom, the more dangerous it is. And that's exactly what steganography is designed for. The idea is to try to send messages. The idea is to try to send payloads. The idea is to try to send malicious code without being detected. So this is not new. This has been used for ages. For example, a long time ago, there was this slave that they use this slave as a carrier. They decide, okay, let's send a message. Let's write a message in a tattoo in the head of this person. Okay, so they shave his head. They wrote the tattoo. They wait till the hair came back, and then they send this slave to Persia. At the other side, there was this person waiting for this slave. He knew that he was supposed to shave his head to knew the secret message. Once he shaved his head, the message was to coordinate an attack against Persia. All right. For example, in the Second World War, there was these microdots, on pictures that contains text. So only those that knew where to find on those pictures data and have a way to magnify to see the data, they will be able to see the secret message. Then, of course, when we were kids, we always play around, with the invisible ink, using a lemon or things like that. So this is also a very simple example about steganography. And nowadays, steganography has been used not only just for sending messages, but it's been used to send payloads, to steal information. It's been used by terrorist attacks, terrorist groups to communicate between each other without being tracked or without being detected. So, for example, everybody likes to share, funny pictures on their social media, right? On WhatsApp or Facebook or any of these. The problem down there is that we don't know who designed these memes. We don't know if inside these memes are some hidden information or there's a payload. So there's a risk, a really high risk of sharing continuously this type of data. Once again, because we don't know if it has inside any malicious code. Now, what could go wrong? The attacker could be able to steal personal identifiable information. They could be able to download, have some commands that if he has a way to extract the commands that is hidden in the pictures, he will be able to convert your computer in a bot. Once again, your bot will communicate with a command and control. Once the attacker has access to your computer and has full control of your computer will become a zombie, and your computer will be part of a botnet. All right. The picture could have a hyperlink, for example, of a malicious code of a hyperlink that has malicious information. Or they don't, sometimes they just want to play a little bit smarter. So they don't want to modify at all the picture. They will just alter the values on the metadata. Remember that the metadata will be some attributes, some attributes that represent the picture. For example, it says what camera was used when the picture was taken, the geolocation. So there are some text fields that every picture has and every file has, so they can hide those type of commands in the metadata. Once again, the idea is to send, in this case, messages or commands hidden in a carrier object. So what could go wrong with the improper use of steganography? It could be used to steal information, and you know that once information is stolen, there's an information security breach. The reputation of many companies will go down, and some companies are not able to recover after an attack. Of course, as I mentioned, the picture could be part of an attack that is designed to try to download a ransomware. And once the ransomware attacks, if the company is not ready, then the confidentiality of the data will be lost. Attackers will be able to access confidential data. They will try to, they will tell the victim, okay, if you don't pay this amount of money, then we'll just share the full list of all your customers on this hacker forum or this, dark side forum. And of course, they will try to recover their investment. So they will ask for money for that. Many companies that are not ready to manage those type of situation will end paying, which is not a good idea because it will demonstrate the attacker that it's a good business, it's a good area where they can earn a lot of money. Also, as you know, there are some insurance companies that are offering insurance in case of a ransomware. And that, once again, that's a dual layer situation, because attacker will say, okay, if the victim doesn't pay me, then the insurance company will pay me. So it increased the possibility to earn money for the attacker. Economy losses, of course, customers will not like to have their money on a bank that has been attacked, that has a security breach. So they will lose their customers, they will lose their profit, they will lose opportunity for business. And customers, of course, they will be impacted. Their data privacy will be lost. They will not be able to access their systems, and their data could be affected. Now, this is an example of a real stegware attack. So this person used to work for a technology company, and this person was stealing some important and confidential data about a new technology that was being developed at that time, and he tried to sell those type of information to China. Okay, so how he did it? He was hiding all the data in very nice pictures like sunsets and these type of things, and he was sending those pictures to his personal email using the corporate computer. So of course he was prosecuted. However, this is an example of a stegware attack where steganography was used for bad. So what can you use to steal information? What can you use to hide information? You can use different type of carriers. One of them could be pictures, as I was mentioning. You can use video, you can use PDF files, even Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any type of file, basically, and even audio files like an MP3, a WAV file. So there are many type of carriers from the digital perspective that could be used to steal information and to send data to the attackers. How does it work? Well, one of the most common techniques and very simple techniques will be the least significant bit. As you know, every image is composed of very small units known as pixels, and each pixel will represent a color code, right? That color code will be based on the combination of three main colors, the red, green, and blue, right? The combination of these red, green, and blue will generate, a new tone of color. So the idea down here is to try to perform very small and very smart, changes to the color coding, right? That at the end will enable us to hide sections of whatever I want to hide in some specific pixels or group of pixels that are going to be distributed in the image that a human eye will not be able to detect. For a human eye, it will just look exactly the same picture, but at the end, inside those color coding, there will be some values that are going to be encoded using this technique. For example, let's say that I want to hide this information. Okay, so I want to hide this data. The color coding for this data will be 178, which is at the end this type of tone of yellow. All right, the original pixel without being affected, this is the color code, in this case 117, which has a little bit brighter tone. So what the attacker will do, the attacker will try to modify some bits of the pixel that will represent a color code that is very similar to the original, that a human eye will not be able to detect. For me, this is almost the same, probably because I'm not wearing my glasses, but they're almost the same. And as you can see, even the color code is very 117, 123. So once again, they made a very small change, but they were able to hide a section of the code that they want to send inside a pixel, and the color coding was again very similar. Now, is this too difficult to implement? Extremely easy. There are many tools that are available, open source tools that are available to use steganography. But once again, steganography is not bad. It can be used for copyright protection. It can be used to confirm, that you download an MP3 file from the proper artist, or singer, right? However, it can be used for bad. So one example could be this one. This tool is known as Steg Online. This tool doesn't need any admin rights. As long as you're able to access this website, then you will be able to hide information. So just as an example, if I go down here and I select any picture, let's say that I want to select, I'm going to the desktop, I'm going to Hack in Paris, I'm going to select this R15. I want to embed some data. Okay, I just modify any pixels, and what section of the color coding I want to change, the red, the green, or the blue, and then whatever I want to hide. For example, hacking Paris. So as you can see, the picture looks exactly the same as the original one, and then I'm just going to download it. There it goes. So this is downloaded picture, and this is the original. As you can see, for a human eye, they look exactly the same. However, one of these pictures has the data that has been um, embedded. So how can I extract the data? Well, it will be a very similar process. So in this case, I'm going to upload the file. In this case, which file? The one that I just downloaded. I need to extract. I hide the data on these 3 pixels. I'm just going to click on go. And it says this is in human readable format, the information that was sent hidden. As you can see, once again, there was no need to install anything. It was just a matter of accessing this website. You can also do the same thing with, once again, the leaving of the land, technique using the copy command. The copy command is a good command. It's a command designed that could help for backups purposes. However, it could be used for a steganography attack. So look at this. So it's very simple. You just type copy/b, all right? The name of the cover file, what you want to hide, and then the cover file. So let's make a quick test. So for example, if I click on down here, I click there, I see that there are a couple of pictures like R15, the one that I just used. There's a text file. Let's say that this is a file that I want to hide. So let's see what it has. Okay, so this text file has a message that says this is a test. That's all that it has. So I'm going to try to hide it down here. So copy/b because I want to modify the cover file in a binary format. So the cover file will be in this case the Yamaha. All right, plus what I want to hide, the hidden. Okay, 1 space, and then the name of the new file, for example, car.png. All right, so now if I click there, now I'm gonna see a car.png. So once again, if I go down here and look for car.png, you see the picture? It looks exactly the same, nothing weird down here. However, if you open up this file, maybe with a notepad, and if you go down to the bottom, you're gonna see that says, this is a test in plain text. So this is how you were able to hide information in this picture easily. Now, how can you hide information even in a more complicated way? So you can use 3 tools, Paint, Coagula, and Sonic Visualizer. So it's very simple. For example, I'm gonna go first to Paint. All right, I'm gonna type something down here. Okay, then I'm gonna draw a line. This is just a way to save time because with the line, when the system is going to analyze the picture, it's going to know that this is the end. So after that, there's nothing hidden. So I'm just going to click on Save As. I'm going to save this as a PMP. Let me go to the desktop. All right. So now I have a picture. That's it. That picture contains the text that I want to hide. Now let's see how we can play around with this. So if I go to Coagula, I go to the desktop, Hacking Paris. There's a Hacking Paris on here. Perfect. So the process that I'm going to try to do right now is to convert this picture into a sound file. So how do I do it? Very easily. Just go to sound and then click on render without blue. If you're wearing headsets, just take it out because it's going to make a very uncomfortable noise. Perfect. Now we have a picture that has been converted into a sound file. So I'm gonna save it as a sound file. And I'm gonna go down here once again to Hacking Paris. I'm gonna type Hacking Paris music. All right. So if I go to the desktop now, to the Hacking Paris, now you're gonna see that there I have a audio file. And as you saw on using the previous example, I could even download an MP3 file, maybe with my favorite rock song, and then I could easily hide this WAV file into the MP3 file and even play the MP3 file without any issue. Okay. Now, how can I extract the data that has been hidden? I could do it with the following tool. If I go to Sonic Visualizer, okay, there is. Then I'm gonna have to open up the file that has been created. In this case, the Hacking Paris music. All right, down here, there's nothing. This is just an audio file that has been analyzed. So now I'm gonna go to the layer, the spectrogram, and then all channels. Okay, once again, I don't see nothing important down here. To make it easier to read, you can change it for black and white, and then just zoom in. And as you can see down here, it says, I can see in plain text the information that has been hidden. Okay. Now, once again, we can combine techniques. We can combine steganography, malware, and fileless malware to perform this attack. Okay, let's see an example. Let's say that someone prepare a payload. That payload has been sent to the victim. The victim unfortunately double clicks on the attached file, and when they double click on the attached file, it's going to create a reverse shell connection. So now the attacker has access to the shell of the computer of the computer victim. Okay, so when he has access to the shell of the victim, he's going to type PowerShell, and then he will be able to execute PowerShell commands. Once again, without installing nothing down from this point on, we are going to try to cause damage without installing any application or downloading. For example, let's say that this attacker is going to go to the document section and he finds a couple of files that caught their attention, like they're precious, like the way this guy said in the Lord of the Ring movie. So for example, let's imagine that this customer.txt contains, PI information about customers. This server.txt contains technical data about, IP addresses, operating system, what is the function of that web server, So we want to try to steal that information. How can we steal that data easily without installing nothing? We could use, in this case, the compressed.archive. This is going to create a zip file where we are going to hide whatever is in this case, in the document folder. So whatever is in the document folder is going to be compressed and embedded in a zip file. In this case, the gold.zip file. Then to start generating some need on the customer on the victim to pay, if we want to ask for money, we could delete the files from his computer. So using, once again, an existing command, remove that -item, it's gonna, in this case, I'm gonna say delete everything that is in the document folder. And this is interesting because when you execute this command, those files will not go to the recycle bin, they will be deleted. The recycle bin will be empty. So if you have a backup or you don't know how to do some forensics to recover files, then you will be in trouble. Now, let's try to apply steganography on this attack. So in this case, I'm going to go to the downloads folder, and with the fsutil command, which again is an existing binary that is already on the computer, I'm going to create on the fly a picture that is big enough, in this case, a cover file that is big enough where I can hide the zip file. In this case, the zip file is very small because it's just an example, 1K. So I'm going to create this 58 kilobytes file to hide the gold.zip. That's it. So with this command, I was able to create this picture. Of course, this picture is not going to contain some random values, so it's not gonna look like a real picture. But at least for the operating system, it is a picture. So using the copy command that I just showed you previously, I'm able to hide the zip file inside the carrier file and create a stego file. In this case, the playa.pmp, that's the file that contains the zip file that you know that the zip file contains the two files that we were able to steal. And once again, we can use the remove item goal and remove item, the remove item to delete, the zip file and also to delete the core file. Now, interesting. So you may say, okay, I'm able at this point to steal data. Yes, I'm able to generate the need because we delete the original files we know where the file is hidden, but how can I obtain the copy of the file as an attacker, right? Well, interesting would be that we could use a solution that is designed to protect us, in this case, Windows Defender, to upload the file that contains the value, in this case, the zip file that contains the valuable data, whatever we want. So I'm not saying that Windows Defender is bad. Windows Defender is a very good solution. However, this is an example of how you can use good tools for bad. And of course, we want to delete our tracks. So we can use PowerShell to get event log. And in this case, I'm going to go lazy. I'm just going to say delete everything, all the logs from the event log. Of course, you can do even better. You can just say delete these specific entries from the event log to delete your tracks. And once I executed, you see that before I did it, there was almost 8,000, events, and then there was only one, and the only one that is under is where I cleared the other logs. And your imagination will be the limit. You can start, a ransomware, a similar attack or a strategy. You can leave a note on there and continue playing around. Now, how can you protect? So the number one would be through good and very good and also through continuous training. You need to learn what type of social engineering techniques exist. You need to make sure that everybody on your company know what is social engineering. They know how to detect, a phishing email. They know how to detect a smishing. They know how to detect, a fake call like phishing, because there are many ways to try to fool people, because that's the weakest, the weakest link, on the chain. And the chain will be as strong as a weakest link. So that's why you need to make sure everybody has the proper training. Endpoint security, yes, you need to have a way to detect on each and every one of the devices if something is not working properly, if there's any malware that is trying to be executed or any commands, malicious command that is being executed. To try to protect against information leakage, make sure they have a data leakage protection system that is going to analyze the data, the outgoing data, to avoid that type of data to reach, the destination, from this case, the destination of the attacker. Network security, this is important, not only from the perimeter perspective, but also from the zero trust perspective. Make sure that you analyze, that you have proper authentication, that you have proper identification, that you have a way to protect each and every one of your network devices, that you have the proper updates, firmware, and so on. So this is a multi-layer, as you can see, solution. We have to make as you can see, like an onion here, as many layers as possible, so the attacker will not feel comfortable. They will start losing time. They will start losing money, because at the end, they also have to invest to attack. So they have to recover their investment. So the harder and the most complicated we do, it will be better for us. And it's not going to be a very good business for them, for the attackers. Make sure they have a proper monitoring. You have a SIEM to be able to detect on real time what is going on. That you have the proper team and trained team, to identify if it is a false positive, if it is a false negative, and they have the proper incident management plan. I implement least privilege. In other words, only assign the privileges that are required to people to perform their job, no more, not less. Only what is strictly required. Okay. So why would you enable, for example, a secretary to be able to access the panel and control? Why? Is it there any technical reason? If there's no business need, then don't assign those type of rights to people, because it doesn't impact in any way on their ability to perform their job. Monitor what commands are being executed. I'm going to show you shortly, a couple of options. So when I was saying to make sure that you have a proper endpoint protection is, for example, make sure you have an antivirus, that have an EDR system, that you have, for example, a host-based intrusion detection system to detect some possible situations that are occurring. Implement a DLP, as I was mentioning, your email and even instant messaging solution. And because this type of, as I was mentioning, there are some malware that is able to change, polymorphic malware. Make sure you have implemented behavioral analytic solutions and also machine learning, so they can start analyzing data based on patterns and detect new behaviors that are not that could be a malicious situation. Monitor, for example, changes on the services. A new service that is a start, and for why that a service went down, who shut down that service. Changes on the Windows registry. Why a change is being performed on the Windows registry? Are you installing something? What is being installed, right? And monitor applications. In the EDR, there are EDRs that are able to detect the use of, for example, of malicious commands using PowerShell, as you can see down here. So make sure that you have proper EDRs to detect the use of load beans, even if the lands, binaries and scripts that could be used for bad. Minimalizing and control, this is extremely important. So once again, I'm not saying that that a PowerShell is bad or a Windows management system is bad. No, just make sure that you monitor and that you enable only what is strictly required. Make sure that you have a proper separation of duties. That is extremely important. The person that is able, that is going to be implementing a change, as an example, that person cannot be the same person that is going to approve that change. You have to have different duties assigned to different people to make sure that you have a proper, separation of duties once again. Install only required management tools. There are many management tools for Windows, for Linux, for Android, whatever, but just make sure to only install whatever it is required. If you don't need them anymore, uninstall those management tools. Monitor their usage and make sure that you monitor those accounts that has more privilege. In this case, the privilege access management using a PAM solution. From the tracking perspective, you know that PowerShell commands can be tracked. And so you can enable the tracking of the user of PowerShell commands using the group policy editor. And of course, make sure that you have a way to aggregate logs and to analyze the logs, and you have proper use cases, proper alerts, that you are continually fine-tuning, the alerts to make sure that you are as effective as possible. Finally, make sure that your equipments are up to date. Have a proper patch management solution implemented. Make sure that your system are up to date, not only on drivers, but also on firmware, but also on updates, hot fixes, whatever is required. And extremely important, have an inventory. Know exactly what you have, because if not, you will not be able to protect them. You need to know what software you have licensed, what applications are being used, what computers do you have, right? What operating system, and so on. Make sure you have a good inventory, even virtual machines. You need to avoid, virtual machine or VMS Pro, which is that lack of proper inventory of virtual machines that you have on your environment. There are many solutions. This is just one of them that could be useful for this type of options. So I hope you like this presentation. It's been a pleasure to be with you. So thank you very much, and pura vida, like the way we say in my country, Costa Rica. So thank you.